Hello, my Bill for Thousand Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. We are back with another Nick Crowley video. This one was actually suggested to me by a subscriber. They said that we had seen a little bit of this video on that chapter. It's one about YouTubers and going crazy and whatnot. I'm excited. I wanted to know a little bit more about this video, so thank you so much for the suggestion. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, cup of something special. Let's get our brains melted. It's Nick Crowley. Like, we're gonna come out traumatized as shit. That's just how that is.
You're all jammied up and snuggled down
Big
to the
Bird.
bed. But you're not asleep yet, are you? Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, would you?
October 25th, 2013. A channel is created to document a man's passion for art and tattooing, with his upload showing obvious skill and love for his work, which he consistently uploaded proudly for nearly 2 years, despite the channel operating with essentially no eyes on it, other than his own, destined to be lost forever in a sea of endless content. Until one fateful upload changed everything. An upload that shifted the account from an innocuous look at the work of an artist to a grim peek into a withering man's mind, giving way to one of the most horrific and gut-wrenching rabbit holes ever discovered across the world of YouTube, with it all centering around one man and his excruciating descent into madness. Sorry to interrupt, but I first have to say a quick thank you to today's sponsor, it's a fucked up, one of my favorite services out there. Throughout the years, something my friends have loved doing is showing me all the disturbing personal details that they can find simply by Googling my name. And I would always laugh in the moment, but when I would get home, I would not sleep for days because it genuinely terrified me. I mean, the amount of detailed information you can find about yourself that's just been unwillingly plastered across the internet is honestly horrifying. This happens because data brokers sell your information to anyone wanting to target you, whether it be scammers, spammers, or worse. This means for practically all of us, you can find information like our home addresses, email addresses, cell phone numbers, relatives, and even health records. And it's all with just a few clicks. I mean, it's all just kind of out there, which is exactly why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests on my behalf. And when they did this for me, I was honestly shocked at just how many sites were sharing my personal details, none of which I ever gave permission to. Aura's opt-out requests have not only helped reduce the amount of spam I get, but they've also better protected me from hackers who could use this information to access my social media accounts or to even find out where I live. And Aura also does so much more than protect me and my family from online threats. I get other features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download 20 different apps. It's really easy to set up, and best of all, you get it for one affordable price. I value my privacy and I value yours as well, so head on over to aura.com/NickCrowley to get a free 2-week trial, with the link also being down in the description. Alright, back to the video.
Back to the video.
Despite this case eventually devolving into one of the more grim rabbit holes anywhere across the internet, its origin is actually far from it.
Been hard work, buddy? Or hard sleep? Hard sleep?
In October of 2008, Ricard Siagian would post his first video to the platform, showing the world his brand new baby, Palu, or as he called him, his son and only. The channel served essentially as a time capsule for Palu's life, as over the next 2.5 years, Ricard would continue posting consistent videos of his son growing up before his eyes.
Hi, Palu. Come here. Palu.
Going from an infant to a little boy who could walk, talk, and even paint.
Walk. Walk.
Come on. I'm looking.
Walk.
I'm looking.
Which made Ricard especially proud. Throughout his life, art was Ricard's calling, and it wasn't just one type either, as he explored seemingly every single medium there was. He went from an experimental musician to a photographer, and eventually, most importantly, an illustrator/painter, with his artistic prowess eventually landing him an interview with a local reporter, where he talked about his art and inspirations. What message do you want to send to the people about your art? My art is my stargate, my life protection, and my companion. All of my art is also a collaborative gate. They will mean nothing without good and aware eyes. So let's accept art to link the distance, difference, and diversity in humankind. The leader of this nation will be love. What a fantasy, eh? In the world of art, Ricard could do it all. But still, there was one style that called to him above all else.
Tattoos.
A style dubbed Batak art, in reference to the Indonesian tribe it spawned from. It's a distinct look that Ricard took exceptional interest in, which comes as little surprise, as that was the tribe that Ricard was born into, being raised within the Indonesian group, only to move to the United States as a young man in order to further his education and career prospects. However, as he once said in an artistic mission statement, the further a Batak man travels from his homeland, the stronger Batak he is on the inside. Moving to New York City in the early 2000s and working odd jobs to make ends meet, Ricard eventually settled in Philadelphia, where he tattooed on the side and found full-time employment at a chocolate factory. During this time, he was actively trying to meet and engage with new people, as you can still find one of his posts on a website called couchsurfers.com, where he mentions how he's looking to meet new people, while also stating in broken English, "I want to do things that when the last breath is approaching, I will still be able to smile," and answer the question, "What is one amazing thing you've done?" by simply saying the word, lived. But most noteworthy about his time in the United States was his continuation of Batak-inspired art, which in 2013 he began sharing with what he hoped would become a wider audience. Starting his second and most prominent page back on December 31st, 2013, Ricard would dedicate his self-titled channel to this art form that he loved so dearly, posting various videos of himself producing tattoos with that traditional Batak inspiration. These videos were all meant to be part of a larger-scale project that he was working on called COPYRIGH, which can be seen referenced in practically all of his early video titles. And despite being in video form, this project heavily focused on a series of books that Ricard was writing, as well as illustrating, which dove into the Batak way of art, and how he was the first to translate it into the world of tattooing, considering himself the first to practice what he called Batak body art. I created the COPYRIGH project with the intention that it be continued and expanded by other artists, to bring Batak art into the global consciousness and into a new lifestyle through tattoo. This project is dedicated to my son Palu. This channel was always meant to be something special. Not only was this uncharted territory for Batak art, but also for the world of art in general. And at the core of it all, Ricard desired to capture the attention of the online world with something they had never seen before. And in the end, he certainly got his wish, just not in the way he would have ever imagined. As the years began to pass, Ricard's channel grew less and less active, and by 2015, only a few off-topic yet entirely normal videos would make their way to the channel, like one showing what looks to be a local parade.
That's cool shit. I love parades.
And another being a camera tutorial in Indonesian.
Oke, ini dia adapternya untuk auto. Oke.
But from this moment on, normalcy would be a thing of the past for both Ricard Siagian and his channel.
Damn, this is where it starts getting fucked up.
Hi, I'm making this video hoping that there's some people out there are able to help me either by sharing this and information and treatment and stuff for my condition. I have not sleep. I have total insomnia.
In the video dubbed Che Final Insomnia, we see Ricard speak directly to the camera and to the audience for the very first time, as he calls out for help with a more than concerning issue he had been dealing with that being total insomnia.
This is not regular insomnia. So it's been 4 months and my body is deteriorating right now. Because my immune system is falling from not able to sleep.
In the video, he claims that he has not been able to sleep for the past 4 months, turning his life into a never-ending waking nightmare, with a lack of sleep slowly causing his body to fail. According to Ricard, he had been working a new job in Philadelphia when he developed a standard UTI, though given that he had no insurance and didn't want to miss time at work already, he reached out to his boss for advice, who just so happened to have a solution. His boss had also been suffering from a UTI fairly recently, and had been given prescription antibiotics that they never ended up using, and so they offered them to Ricard as a kind gesture to spare him from the medical bills. However, upon taking the pills, Ricard immediately experienced intense heart palpitations, along with severe body aches and cramping of his hands.
Yeah, not everyone can take the same antibiotics.
And my hand, both of my hand was crooked like that.
The symptoms were concerning, but given the position he was in, Ricard felt as if he had no choice but to keep taking them, until that medication ran out and his treatment came to an end. Though his symptoms did not. From that moment on, Ricard strangely lost his ability to sleep throughout the night, and was left only able to get around 2 hours of sleep at most per day, with Ricard describing the sleep as painful, as his body would jolt every time he began to drift off, causing extreme discomfort and pain. And after 4 months of this, he had grown impossibly exhausted and utterly desperate, with the lack of sleep being apparent just by looking at the man. But the story gets even deeper from here, as he explains how the insomnia started when he traveled back to his home in Indonesia in order to say goodbye to his dying mother, only for his body to start decaying while overseas, to the point that he had become bedridden and was now essentially trapped in Indonesia, an entire world away from his son.
You know, I need life. You know, I have my sons in Philadelphia now. I left him. You know, I have no choice. You know, because I don't want to leave him. I need life. I need to survive. You know, I don't want him to lose me. I don't want to lose him.
By the time of this upload, he was so desperate for sleep that he offered to be a guinea pig for any doctor out there to try anything on him, anything that might give him hope to sleep once again, before ending things off on a line that encapsulates just how dire things were becoming in his mind.
Let me give you one sample of how desperate I am for sleeping right now. I will give away, this is just comparison, I will give away my two legs from my thigh, cut it, take it as an exchange for sleeping even though 3 hours a day.
This bombshell came out of nowhere. 1 minute, Ricard was enjoying his life, and the next, this impossible medical event is threatening his very existence. And as shocking as it may seem, what Ricard is experiencing isn't totally unheard of.
Nope. It is a real thing.
Silvano and the others were unable to drop into a deep REM sleep, and sleep medications only accelerated their restless descent toward death.
Despite coming in a few different classifications, fatal insomnia is a very real disease that affects the brain, causing an inability to sleep that only gets worse over time. This lack of sleep then leads to a significant decrease in cognitive function, which induces symptoms of paranoia and a slew of other mental issues, until the person affected with the disease begins flat-out hallucinating, growing disconnected and confused with the world around them. And all the while, the body is slowly decaying, as it grows too weak to move, before the disease ends the way it always does, in certain death. It's worth noting that this is incredibly rare,
terrifying,
almost unheard of.
Terrifying.
But what makes Ricard's case even more bizarre is that in practically all fatal insomnia cases, the disease is genetic and lives dormant within the patients for their entire lives. But in Ricard's case, he had no family history of it, and the symptoms instead developed after he had supposedly taken antibiotics from his boss, with it later being revealed that said drug was one called ciprofloxacin. This is noteworthy given that ciprofloxacin, or Cipro, has long since been linked to a variety of bizarre and sometimes life-altering side effects, with the onset of these symptoms being known as getting floxed.
Avelox, Cipro, and Levaquin may cause peripheral neuropathy, severe nerve damage, or serious eye injuries, and those injured may be entitled to compensation.
Severe nerve damage forced Laura to live with chronic pain and robbed her of the ability to work or travel.
Within a week of starting the medication,
I was completely crippled. I had to physically crawl.
The drug itself has never been linked to fatal insomnia, but it has been known to cause a variety of other neurological issues, and Ricard was convinced that a bad reaction to it is exactly what caused his ailment. If what Ricard is saying is to be believed, then his fatal insomnia is unlike anything known to the world of science. But based on similar conditions, it is fully apparent that if things continued in this direction, well, Ricard wouldn't last long. This was something that he was well aware of too, as soon after another video was posted by Ricard in which he described his condition more in depth, while acknowledging that his days are most likely numbered.
I'm gonna tear down and dying anyway, and until I lost all my power from not sleeping and from losing my immune system.
On top of this, the isolation was clearly starting to take a toll on him, as not only was he separated from his child, but he can't even leave his house due to the fact that he can't walk for even more than a minute.
I'm a bit ridden. I can only walk for like 1 minute and done.
And throughout all of the research he did into his own illness, he couldn't find a single other person out there that had been dealing with what he had been dealing with. Meaning that he had no one to relate to, no semblance of guidance, nothing. It was isolation in its truest, most horrific form, as he was essentially sentenced to lay in a bed for the remainder of his life. A bed in which he couldn't even sleep, as he was forced to lay there awake as his body slowly consumes itself. It's utterly depressing, and over time we begin to understand more of what Ricard is going through, as he starts videotaping examples of his sleep rejection in real time. Which he described further in the description as body feedback, jolt, shock accompanied by a quick air gasp, neurological sound in my head like a hip crack, firecracker, or neural slap inside my head, before going on to say, so no sleep ever happened. My brain seems to refuse or ignore it all the time. As a result of that, the inner spinal grabbing pain builds up and a feeling of my whole body being vacuumed, with a sensation of falling from the sky, very violent and tormenting. This event could last for a few hours. If I keep resting by fighting and tightening my body and keeping my eyes closed, the snap will kick back in every 5 minutes until my brain is racing again. On and on. Essentially, the more Ricard tries to sleep, the more pain his body feels, and the longer he stays awake, the more his body begs him to rest. It's a constant war between his body and his mind that can only be summed up as a living hell. From there, he would post numerous other videos showing the effects of the insomnia on his body, including one where dead skin cells can be seen covering his face, as he questions in the description why no health professionals are helping him. Though despite the lack of help and the acknowledgement that the odds were stacked against him, he was still out there actively looking for answers. As aside from his videos, he would post across various forums around the internet, in which he sought out doctors and other victims of this same horrific disease, in pursuit of any information that could help him. Though when this didn't work, he then began doing deep dives into controversial medical practices himself, even creating public playlists to document some of them, with perhaps the most distressing being something called psychic surgery. With videos in that playlist showing people being healed from their chronic ailments with this bizarre technique that unfortunately was entirely a scam. Though it still likely provided him some false hope in that moment that perhaps it could work on him.
Like
eventually, his efforts would see him post a fundraiser to gain money in the prospect of finding one of these experimental surgeries that could potentially at least give him a chance at life. Though from the looks of things, it seems likely that very few, if any, ever donated, as at this point, he was essentially talking to no one. And before long, the little morale he had left began to dwindle.
My last dream is my son. I feel so embarrassed I cannot raise him. So trying this last hope will be not happen without you guys.
And it wasn't just his morale that was slipping, but his mind as well, as suddenly he began to use his channel to post various strange conspiracy theories, talking about aliens, global mind control, the Illuminati, and God.
Dan gorila belum ada itu eksperimen. Nah, jadi mereka udah datang ke bumi.
They have come to this Earth
Makanya ada Star Wars, ya.
There are Star Wars, yes. Star Wars is not a lie.
With each passing video, he began making less and less sense, which was also echoed on his Facebook account, where the man's once entirely normal page was inundated with bizarre posts about some of the wildest conspiracies you will ever see. And this wasn't the only major clue that Ricard was starting to lose cognitive function.
Conspiracies or facts from a man who never sleeps and reads. Like, imagine all the stuff we could learn if we never slept. The motherfucker's been doing this for months now. He knows everything. He's not losing his mind. He's speaking truth.
With the other coming in the form of his recording habits. During a vast amount of his uploads, Ricard would ramble on about how he had been talking for hours, only for him to realize that only a few minutes ended up recording, forcing him to do the entire video all over again.
Aku harus bikin video singkat-singkat soalnya susah Udah pernah aku upload, udah pernah aku rekam sampai 2 jam, tapi yang terekam hanya beberapa menit.
He recorded a few hours, but all that was recorded was a few minutes. He keeps messing up. He can't
either forgetting to
concentrate
record or
right.
not realizing that the recording had stopped. The deterioration is heartbreaking, but Ricard wasn't entirely lost, as he would eventually hop back in front of the camera to celebrate a rather unfortunate anniversary.
So, it's been a year bedridden, attacked by fluoroquinolones in 2015.
After an entire year of being bedridden, Ricard was still fighting, though his optimism was nearly gone, as he mentions that he's past the point of salvation. His neurons have already been fried, and no matter what happens from here, he knows that he's never going to be able to fully recover, and he wished at this point that it would all just be over already.
I'm giving up already. I'm already giving up now. It's just I cannot do it. I cannot myself. I'm not good with myself. If I do, I'm already done.
Citing his only reason for continuing on as,
why do keep trying this? For the sake of my son.
Following this, Ricard would focus his efforts on documenting his illness for the world, in the hopes of helping others out there who might develop it as well. While in another video, he shows off his collection of benzos that he had been abusing for nearly 2 years now, as they were the only things that could even remotely get him to fall asleep, even just for 2 excruciating hours, stating that without them, he would already be dead. Before giving one final call for help in a 2-part video called Message to Neurologists.
Thank you, doctor, for listening. Whatever you do, either fail or not, I give it to you. Nothing to fear. Thank you, doctor. Bye.
From this upload onward, Ricard would slip back into his nonsensical videos, posting again about God and how the government designed HIV in order to make us all satanic slaves.
God, in this case, is just a person, which is, I found out that actually his name is Enki. He came here to this planet before we are exist.
Until December 4th, 2016, when he posted a video in a dark room speaking entirely in Indonesian.
Orang pengacara yang sangat terkenal.
For example, I am very famous and expensive lawyer.
Dan lain-lainnya. Jadi,
so let's say there is a citizen of whatever country, yes, let's say a British citizen who smuggles drugs into Indonesia.
Here, Ricard poses a series of bizarre hypotheticals over the course of this 5-minute rant, with the whole thing being his strangest yet, as it never really gets to any specific point until
and she has to recognize the person we don't know, and that's how the system of bending the law, and that's usually...
The video cuts off. As much like before, Ricard seemingly failed to realize that the recording had stopped before he was able to finish what he wanted to say, cutting him off mid-sentence. These were the final words Ricard would ever speak on his YouTube channel, and 5 days later, on the 9th of December, he would pass away, finally giving him his chance to sleep, once and for all.
Damn, Nick! Fuck.
Ricard's online trail truly is one of the more depressing things I've ever seen on the internet, and what I find most haunting is the juxtaposition of the 2 channels that he owned.
Been hard work, buddy. Or hard sleep. Hard sleep.
On one hand, he showcases the beautiful progression of life as his son Palu grows up right before our eyes.
Hi, Palu. Come here. Palu.
While on the other hand, he showcases the haunting deterioration of death in the most disturbing way imaginable, with the most heartbreaking part of it all being that he seemingly passed away without ever getting the chance to hold his son again. But that doesn't mean that he didn't get the chance to say goodbye, as through his cognitive decline, he had a moment of clarity during which he would leave behind a Facebook post for his son to read when he grew older, writing, "I love you, my son. I cannot promise anything right now. That includes my recovery. Just letting you know that you are the most beautiful soul I've ever encountered in my entire life. I was glad to introduce you to this world. One day we will see each other and play again in the place where there is no lies, sadness, pain, and sorrow. Please enjoy your life to the best and don't hurt yourself or others." With Ricard's story now at its end, we're still left with many unanswered questions, as despite his death appearing to be confirmed, the cause of it never has been. And throughout the story, there are several discrepancies that have raised a few questions. If what Ricard is saying is to be believed 100% at face value, then he went without true sleep for almost a year and a half, which based on our current understanding of sleep doesn't seem possible, at least not to the extent Ricard was claiming. In fact, another patient with an extremely similar condition had his own spiral documented back in the 90s, with his cognitive decline being much, much more drastic.
How long you been here? Hmm? Yeah. How much? 2 weeks.
This footage is on par with virtually every other case of fatal insomnia, regardless of its classification, as the last weeks and months of a person's life are spent in a comatose state. Yet, just 5 days before Ricard's death, he was still speaking and holding his camera. One possibility is that he had been dealing with severe but non-fatal insomnia, which came about from the Cipro he took, or perhaps even as a result of the trauma of losing his mother, to which he then simply mistook this for fatal insomnia, with his mind filling in the blanks and convincing himself that he was dying and that he couldn't sleep, perhaps not recognizing that he was actually getting more sleep each night than he realized, with his mind beginning to slip out of control as a result of the long-term abuse of his sleeping drugs, which coincidentally also have major effects on cognitive function. And when it comes to his death, some have theorized that perhaps the insomnia did progress, or his body just couldn't handle the stress of whatever he was dealing with anymore, or even that he took his own life. But at this point, it's really anyone's guess, and though the truth is likely out there somewhere, it's possible that we'll never know for sure what really happened to Ricard Siagian, or how his condition came to be.
It's crazy.
But whatever the truth is, at least his pain is now finally over.
It's sad, man. Alright. Thank you so much for the suggestion. I'm only slightly traumatized, only slightly. We're doing good. Seriously, thank you for the suggestion, though. I really did want to know more about this story, and I'm glad we got to know more about it. Like, this is some craziness, man, some craziness. I enjoyed it, though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video as much as I did. If you did, please go down there, leave a thumbs up. It really does help the channel grow. While you're down there, if you want, go on over and slap that subscribe button, become part of the B5 Nation. We do some crazy stuff here. And if you want to know when that crazy stuff happens, ding that bell and turn on all notifications. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Damn. That, for a Nick Crowley one, though, we came out unscathed.